Hello, welcome to my review of the new Muque album called Dungeon. So this album came out a few days ago and I've really been enjoying it. Muque formed in 2022 in the town of Fukuoka, and it is comprised of four members. The first is named Asakura, who is the singer and is also on guitar. The bassist is named Lennon. The other guitarist is named Kenichi. And there is another member called Takachi, and Takachi is the drummer, but also handles more of the electronic production as well. So I find that Muku's sound is kind of split between three different genres. That would be pop and rock and electronic, just kind of in general. So prior to this album, they had released two EPs and a handful of singles. Now, two of those EPs came out last year, and the second one, which I really liked, is called Design. I think I particularly liked that one because it was very heavily math rock inspired, and since that's a genre I'm really into, I was just really taken in by that EP. Now, while it did also feature some of their more pop and electronic stylings, I just found that the guitar work on that EP, which is really interesting and fun and bouncy, and I was hoping that there would be more of that on this album too, which there is, but unfortunately not to that degree. So similarly, this debut album also leans into pop and rock and electronic, and it's more successful in some of those than others. So in regards to that math rock styling that I mentioned on that EP, unfortunately, not a lot of it transitioned to this album. There is one song that is a carryover from that EP. However, I really liked all of the others that were on there too, and I just really like how they sounded. So I was really hoping that was going to be more of what we saw on this album, but unfortunately that didn't really pan out. The more rock-heavy songs usually feature very lively and bouncy electronic production as well, which is actually a pretty nice combo for this sort of band. And so that's it too. I think if the band was just primarily a rock band, they'd still be pretty successful. However, I feel like their forays into pop are just kind of to just reach that mainstream appeal, which I get, but it's kind of unfortunate in my opinion. Speaking of songs from that EP, the song that got carried over for this album is called 456. I think the guitar riff is just incredibly math rocky, and it really suits the electronic production on this song like perfectly. I think the lyrics are very fun too, the hook is incredibly catchy, and it's got this really nice sort of wistful delivery that I think also suits the song very well. And then on top of that, I just think that Asakura's vocals are just perfectly mixed on top of all of this very elaborate production and instrumentation in the back, which is just fantastic. Now, there's one other more mainline rock song on the album, and that's called Jabber. Now, Jabber is just a fantastic example of how to combine trap and pop and rock all into one package. I think they really showed off their potential very well here. And yeah, generally, I just think Jabber is a really fun and engaging song. It might be my favorite on the album. I still need some more time to sit with it, but I just really do enjoy it. So I would say that the majority of the songs on this album fall more into the electronic category. While they are still pop and they are still rock, I just find that the production is so in your face that it's hard not to just consider them electronic song. The song Nevermind is how the album opens. While it is still very electronic, it really has this very apparent J-pop sound, which I think is really smart to use as an opener to your album, just to kind of hook those listeners in right from the get-go. There is also one guitar panned all the way to the left and one all the way to the right, and the way they play off each other is super fun and just really helps to make the song just more entertaining. I also think that the bassist here sounds fantastic. I'm going to try not to talk about him too much, but he's really killing it on this one. Another song I really like is called Feelin'. I really love the percussion and the synths here on this song. Sounds really, really cool. It's another poppy song in the tracklist, though I'm willing to kind of forgive it in this case because I also just love the trap production on this one too. So yeah, I would give this one 2 thumbs up. It's very catchy, very groovy, and it also kind of gave off this like jungle genre sort of vibe, so I thought that was super fun too. So the song Desert is very Pink Panther-y in my opinion. I really loved her album from last year, so I'm happy to kind of see that sort of sound come back up. And so because of that, this song has a very like 2000s pop sort of vibe, and it's definitely more of a dance track than some of the other ones. The song Time is a really drum and bass heavy song. I think that drummer killing it. And I'm really happy he's in this band because I really feel like he's the one tying all of these genres together in the band, and he's doing a fantastic job at it. So the final song on the album is called Days, and I really feel like it's a continuation of the song Desert because it kind of continues that Pink Pantherist sort of sound. Not really much else to say on that one other than I really like it, and I think it's a really nice album closer, and I like it a lot. So now let's talk about the more pop-oriented songs on this album. I've been pretty positive on it so far, and this is kind of where things are going to break down a little bit. So in general, a lot of these more pop songs were not released as singles or on the EPs. Some were, but not all of them. And it makes me wonder if these were more late additions that maybe they were kind of not exactly forced to make and release, but someone said, we need to actually get some radio hits on here, so we need you to go in this direction. That's just kind of the vibe I get. It's unfortunate because I don't really like a lot of these songs. So starting off with the very first on the album, which is called Teardrop in the Sea. So it's fine as a pop song, however, it just makes me feel like it was mandated by the label to come up with this. It just seems very by the numbers, and the production isn't bad or anything. I just don't really feel like this has all of their love and care and energy put into it. The next song, called Blue Light, was released as a single, so I'll give them that. And it's kind of this like 80s throwback sort of song, and I don't really like this one either. The production on this seems very basic and almost like they came up with a good 10 to 15 to 20 seconds of song and then they said, let's just loop that. And sure, there are some flourishes that kind of liven things up here or there, but it just feels looped and it just isn't very engaging. So another song on the album is called parentheses T Last Me. And I think that name is a play on of trust, but in Japanese, and that pun doesn't really translate to English well at all, because last in Japanese, if you translate it directly from English, would be rasto, okay? And then trust is torasto, so you just add that to sound at the beginning, and then it changes from last to trust. I think that's what they're going for, and the lyrics kind of seem to back that up, but again, it doesn't really work so much in English. Upon multiple re-listens, I am finding it to be a little bit more fun, a little bit more lively, but still, it feels kind of looped. It's kind of missing something to really catch me. I think I kind of elevated this song in my mind from like a 5 to maybe like a 6 or 7. Not super high. It's not a bad song. None of these songs are bad. I just don't think a lot of them are for me, especially since I'm coming from that very enjoyable math rock oriented album. So to have all of this pop, it's just kind of working against what I was expecting. I think the biggest offender of how much I dislike the pop on this album is the song called Bite You. It sounds exactly like mainstream J-pop, which I'm a fan of, but I just don't really think fits here on this album by this band. I just really don't think so. And the lyrics are kind of cringy too. I don't know if they're as cringy coming from a Japanese music listener's perspective, but one of the lines is so bad. It's half in English, half in Japanese, and she's like, I'm a baby, I'm gonna cry. And it's like, the delivery on that is just lame. I'm sorry. I just don't like that. So Bite You is one I will be skipping every time I re-listen to this in the future. I do really like the album, and I plan to listen to it a lot. Just not this song. Definitely not this song. So those are my thoughts on each of the songs. So now let's talk about it from a higher level perspective here. So in general, I think this album kind of gets lost in what it wants to be. So sometimes it's overtly pop, and then sometimes it gets very technical math rock-esque arrangements in the songs. And then sometimes it very heavily leans into that trap sound, which can be at odds with the math rock, with the pop, and I just don't think really can all coexist at once. While there are some notable examples of it, like on 456, which I do really like, and Jabber, I just don't think that they were able to really figure out how to make that work hard enough, so they kind of defaulted to, this is mainly trap, this is mainly pop, which is fine, but they've shown that they can combine those, and it works extremely well, so I wish they had really tried to make it work on every one of these songs. I truly do. One positive thing I'll say for sure is that the vocals are very clear and crisp and fun, and the fact that they are placed over this very complex production and are still audible is something I really appreciate, and I think is something that came out really well in the end product. So as I've mentioned, there is that 2023 EP called Design. Honestly, I think you should listen to this album and that EP, but listen to that EP after this, just so you can kind of see what could have been. Because I feel like if you start with the EP and then you move into this LP, you're going to be kind of let down, kind of like I was. Though I suppose if you are more of a J-pop fan, you might be okay with starting with this more J-pop oriented product. It's just not what I would personally recommend as a primarily rock fan. So yeah, I do really like this album overall. I've listened to it maybe 10 or 15 times in preparation for this video, and I like it. I do like it a lot. I just wish some of those pop elements were way toned down or taken out entirely and replaced with more songs from their first two EPs. Because even on the ones that aren't on Design, I think are really good, and I wish they were here. And it's strange that they're not, because they have hundreds of thousands of listens on Spotify too, so why replace them? I don't get it. Yeah, it's just kind of unfortunate. And this album isn't too long either, so they definitely could have stuck an extra 2 songs on here or taken off some of their more lackluster ones. I don't know. Maybe they're going for the TikTok market and that J-pop sound is what sells on that platform specifically. I don't really know, but it's a shame, I guess. So yeah, so overall, I think I would rate this album a 7 out of 10. Like I've said, I definitely enjoy it way more than I don't. And I think it's a fun listen. And if you do like that J-pop sound, I think you'll like it too. You honestly might even rate it an 8 or like a 9. It's just not kind of what I was expecting from what I had already heard from this fantastic band. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. For sure, check out muque. They're fantastic. And I really hope they come out with more material soon, because I would love to hear more math rock muque. That would make me so happy. So thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day.